Hello everyone, this is SFA Art Education's tutorial on drawing portraits, and I already have the first video. This is the second video. The first video we worked together to learn a little bit about how proportions work with the human face, and I just want to review that a little bit because we're going to draw just a very standard portrait together. So we talked about how when you put the eyes way up high on the forehead, that the facial features then are going to be skewed. And so we learned that the eyes are always halfway down the whole head. Also, heads are shaped more like eggs and less like circles. We learned also to draw the eye, making sure we remember the eyelid. And we also learned that the iris, which is out here, and the pupil, which is in here, do not all show most of the time for most people that the lid will cover the top half of it. We learned how to draw curved lines to create a nose. So an upward curve, a downward curve, an upward curve, and then parentheses create a nose. And then we also learned that if you can get these upward and downward curves correct, the way they look on the person's face that you're drawing, that it will look like that person more and more. And then you have these upward curves, is sort of like a bow here, and then the bottom lip here. We learned also that the ear is a series of curved lines and then a little bit of a triangle without a bottom. And so all of these very basic shapes helped us create our full drawing. Now, we didn't do anything about eyebrows, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that in a minute. But one of the things we did talk about is that the, the edges of the nostrils are going to line up with the inside of the eye, and that the edges of the mouth are going to line up with the middle of the eye. And it's a really important thing to do because a lot of times um, we for whatever reason, most of us don't like our noses. And so we'll get the eyes in the right place. And I'm not going to be super careful because I'm trying to demonstrate, my point here. But we'll get the eyes in the right place and then we'll draw this just little tiny nose. And it won't line up correctly. And if you had a nose that small, you wouldn't even be able to breathe. And then we'll have like a little tiny mouth, which if you had a mouth that big, you could only drink out of a straw. So it's important that when you draw the nose that you actually get the nostrils to be as lined up with the inside of the eye, even though it feels a little weird. The same thing goes for the ears. The ears will generally start right around where the eyebrows are, and they don't end all the way down until the top of the lips. And so that seems really big. But if you don't do that, if you just draw ears like this, that actually looks funnier. This looks more like a human ear. So now that we have an idea about how we want things to be proportioned, we're going to go ahead and draw, adjust my camera just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and draw a face. And we're going to do it a little bit differently. So when I was showing you, I just drew an oval. But because I'm drawing a portrait now, I'm going to actually start with the hair. Now, I'm going to draw my hair the way I kind of wish it would look, but I'm going to draw it, I'm going to draw it for a girl. And there are different ways to do it. With boys, it's almost like a helmet. So depending on what kind of hair you have, but it'll be a lot like this. And then you can get the face in there. If you have really curly hair, you can get that curly hair in there, especially if you have like a fade. Then you can do it like this. I'm going to do long hair because I've always wanted long hair. And because I'm an artist, I can make things the way I want it to be. Now, what I'm doing and what you'll see is that sometimes it's easier if you frame the face with the hair first and then draw the face in there. And it's also kind of a tip to not try and draw that jawline in there until you get the eyes and everything in there. So now I'm going to draw my eyes. I'm going to remember my eyelid. Oops, I'll get a little bit more there. And I can hide some of my mistakes. Of course, if you have a pencil, you don't have to do that. But if you have a marker, or if you're just using like a regular old ink pen, which is a really good thing to do, then you can sometimes hide some of those mistakes just by, like how I did. I just used eyelashes. So I have my eyes in. I have enough room for my brain. And what I know about my face is that I have these eyebrows and they sit right on this bone. Now, when you see a skull, you'll see where the eyeballs are is just a big open spot, right? And then above that is the bone of the skull. And that actually connects to the cartilage in the nose. So I can draw I don't want to draw a line on both sides because that'll look terrible, but I can draw just this right here to give because I'm not really shading, just to give the idea that this is where the nose begins. And then remember that our nose is an upward curve, a downward curve, and an upward curve. And then I want to line that up with the inside of my eyes, and there's my nose. Now I'm going to draw my mouth, and I'm going to start, remember I'm lining it up with the middle of the eye right there. I'm going to draw the mouth. And now I know kind of where the rest of my face is going to go. So I know that my chin is going to be right around here. And so I can get those facial features in. Now, what we a lot of times like to do is draw a neck and start it right here. And we'll have this little skinny neck, which of course, if your neck was that thin, your head would fall off. If you pay attention, you'll see that your neck actually starts at your ear. But we don't like to do that because we don't really want to look, especially like if you're me, you don't want to look like a linebacker. So we sometimes make our neck really skinny, but we don't want to do that. We want to have it to where it'll actually hold up our head. And then I can put in my t-shirt, which is just this almost like half circle. And then I can put in my shoulders. And I might even put like a little bit of a wrinkle here. And I can start to put in the details. So in the back here, behind everything, it's going to be dark behind this hair that's in the front. Remember, anything that's close to you is going to catch the light, and anything that's far away from you or back in behind something is going to be in shadow. And so that kind of helps you make things look 3D, even if you're using a marker like I am. And so now I also know that my hair kind of comes out from the scalp like this. So I'm going to just put some darker lines here. Now, you guys have watched me make all these mistakes, and you know that it still looks okay. I mean, it's not great, but it looks okay. So you know that if you try this, that you're actually going to have yours look pretty good.